Vermont League of Cities and Towns Select Board handbook. But this is about budget and taxes, so I thought you might find it interesting, and then maybe we can set the tax rate next time. But, I have lots of papers.
Okay, so what you're saying is, you'd like us to educate ourselves a little bit,
Right.
She's giving us homework.
and then look in
saying what else
detail
might be.
next time, set the
Right.
tax rate next time.
Right, and because, you know, I mean, we did overspend on several of the, line, you know, the items last year. I mean, we had it about $14,000. And, you know, when you look at, because you can't, the highway has to stay with the highway. It has to stay highway. So, you know, when you look at that, I mean, I did, and that was after we did that $5,000 transfer from the, that's after I did the $5,000 transfer for the you know, the community development.
Yes.
That you said. So, you know, I think we need to think about that. You need to think about what you want, how much you want the taxes to be raised this year.
We overspent by how much?
On, by about 14,000.
14,000 on a budget of what? Total? 400 and, well, that was what was last year's?
471,000.
471?
085.
Okay. Boy, I think that's a pretty close target.
But,
I don't know how you get closer than that.
no, it's just that we've been spending down our fund balance.
Right,
And
that's
so
not a true number. We've been spending more than,
we've been spending down our, you know, our fund balance.
Yeah.
And, you know, at some point, I don't think that this is the year that we can do that, obviously. I mean, we need to, you know, we could.
How's it really, I'm always confused as to how this is really supposed to work. We come up with a budget, and I know we have to keep the highway separate from all the others, and all the others can be mixed, correct?
Well, right, well, the highway,
The highway has to stay
any
separate.
deficit or, you know,
Right,
the
that
fund,
has-
it's designated fund balance for the highway, it has to be used for
Has
highway,
to be used
anything,
for
so that, you know, when I set the tax rate for the highway, you know, it's minus,
Yeah, but are
it's,
there any state regulations or anything in the sense that, well, let's say we underspend on the highway by $20,000 this year. Are we obligated to apply that directly to the next year, or can we maintain a
I'm not
balance?
sure, I
You
mean,
know what I mean? I'm always confused at what was,
you may find out some information.
well, that's why. It's always confusing as to how
Yeah,
you're not gonna hit the budget exactly.
and I didn't print out the whole section, I mean, it was the
And if you
whole,
go the other
whole
way,
thing
do you have to make that up the first, and that becomes part of your budget for the next year?
for the next year, right?
But we never really do that, do we? We've
Well,
always had
but-
surplus.
we never-
Yeah, right.
we've been curving, we've been approaching the curve in terms
Right.
of knowing that we had a significant fund balance initially.
Right.
And we're advised by Gail and others that we shouldn't have so much of a fund balance.
We've been spending it down, but now.
We've been spending it down, and
Now
now
we-
we're there.
Now we gotta
And we've been doing that every year to bring to real costs, in a way,
Right.
our new highway department employees and all the changes that have occurred in the last 4 and 5 years, equipment replacements and that we're trying to ride that curve to ease the pain as much as we can in any given year over a 5-year step. And we're really, next year is where the rubber hits the road.
Right,
Because
and
we
I
don't
think-
really have a cushion to fill in.
So you may want to change that 52. I put that, so that would raise it 3%, but, from last year, but, I mean, I think it.
And that's was 55?
Last year was.
I come up with a differential on that of,
0.5549 was last year.
so it's 1.6 cents on the grand list is the increase. Which frankly, you're telling me that now we're to a 3% increase?
Well, if.
If the
we
way
did-
you've constructed the,
Right, with the 52,000 or whatever, what did I give you, 52 or 51? 52.
52.
I think I thought that that was about a 3%
It'd be
raise,
about
2.9%.
Right, it's like, it's 16
Yeah.
divided by 500.
How much of that fund balance in the highway are we thinking we're gonna need for the, project?
Probably all of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a change in the budget we voted for, right? It's a change in where the dollars are being put and taken from, because we voted in March for actually a higher increase. And I know
Well-
that's affected then by the grand list stuff and all that, but, doesn't it all seem that it all went in the right direction from what we anticipated the increase being?
It did, but I mean, you have to decide how much of a shock you want, what do you want to do this year?
So, but
Well, last year it was 8%.
Last year was 8%.
2 years, well, yeah, 2 years.
Yeah, so I mean, we could, I mean, if you want to do, well, let's see, you don't want to,
There was a reason why we held on to that, and the reason why we swallowed.
50,000 would be 3.42, 40,000 would be 6%, 30,000 would be 8.7% increase. I ran,
30,000 what? Help me out there.
if we, if you just add some of the designated highway.
So 52,000 brings us to a 1.6 cent roughly difference,
About 3%.
and that's 3%.
3% of it.
And you said if we only used 40 of it, it would be what?
6%.
So every 10,000 is 3%. 10,000 times 33, 330, that doesn't
Well,
gel with our
it's,
budget.
we could think about it and.
Yeah, we need to think about it,
And,
because what poison pill we don't swallow this year, we're swallowing next year.
Right,
So we gotta find a balance somewhere.
And things are really up in the air with this project, because
Right.
I don't know
Well,
where.
we actually have some solid numbers, so, as to how bad it is. So it's not nebulous, we know what we need to find, and we can talk about that.
Where the funds are coming from is
It's the source of funding and some
You
other,
mean for the,
some other issues.
for the extra work that has to be
Yes,
done?
right.
Okay, so, that's something that.
We can fill you in on that, but some of that's gotta be discussed in executive, because it's some legal stuff.
this is contract.
Oh, okay,
Contract.
right. All right, well then,
And so, let me get it straight, Gail. This 474, that's the number we voted on.
well, that added the $10,000 to the fountain fund.
That
Right,
plus the
right.
10,000.
I mean, it
That
voted
that's
for
included.
464.
Right, and then you added the 10. to
Oh, okay,
the-
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, as far as in the revenue side of it, the first three items are strict estimates of what you think is gonna come in.
Right,
And the 52 is the one that we can decide on.
right.
We could make that any number we wanted to.
Well, right, I mean, you want to.
In a sense, I mean, it's something reasonable, but it isn't, that's not one.
I don't know legally if you have to roll the highway over every.
Well,
But,
hopefully this argument will give us some insight, because I've always questioned that too, is that, what are you legally supposed to do? And rolling balances one way or one, and they have to go
I
one
mean,
way or
yeah,
the other.
if you look at, every municipality has a fund balance. I mean, you don't want to get down to
You
zero.
have to.
So, and you have to,
Theoretically, at the end of June, everything should be zero, and you start over again.
well, I mean, theoretically, you should have the same fund balance that you had the previous year. When you-
Right, right.
So that's.
But if you're not allowed to carry balances over, they should all go to zero by the end.
No,
of the year.
but-
So you have to be able to carry over.
Well, you have to have a fund, a reasonable fund balance, and, we have to look at what different towns, I don't know what Bennington, maybe, we should call and see what Bennington carries,
But so it's how you define reasonable.
Right,
And I would assume it'd be reasonable to say you carry a balance in anticipation of something you're planning to do in the next year.
Or not planning,
As
for
in
that
not
matter.
As in the case of the project.
Right.
Here comes some good wind.
so think about it, and,
Okay, well, I appreciate that. So what we have is we've done the grant anticipation note. Next month, we will do the review, tax anticipation note, and the tax rate. So we're done.
We're done with me,
Okay.
except for, I gave, well, the next piece of it, the model policies.
There's some green in that.
Make for a good bike ride.
We're not done, don't worry, we're not done yet.
I got a card.
But I parked my car.
Mine might be too.
No, I'm not too far.
Your windows aren't on. Forgot to bring the windows. So we're on this now?
Yeah, let me just,
Came down.
Maybe it was, yeah.
We're on the policy.
this capitalization policy that I just.
Yes.
It's the town of Bennington. I mean, it's a pretty standard policy. The thing that I guess I want you to look at is on the second page are the capitalization thresholds. Because when we look at these fixed assets, when I give Norm his,
I can't hear you, Gail, sorry.
Rain is making a little noisy.
Shut the door.
Oh, we liked it.
I know, it's nice, but.
So, I mean, I guess I just wanted you to look at the thresholds. I think they're high enough. You don't want to get to the point where, we could go lower, but
No.
we don't want to, have to research. We don't want it to be material.
They look reasonable to me.
Right. We don't want it to be, you don't want to miss a lot between 2,000 and 5,000, say, but so you don't want it to be material, but I don't think it will be. So I guess I would like you to look at the thresholds. If they seem reasonable to you, I'd like to, I will have to, this is a PDF, so I'll have to type this, I guess, or somebody will.
In the asset tracking system with a zero depreciable basis, yeah, that's gonna make, it's gonna take some of the work away. All the
Well, it
nitty,
takes some of it, but, it's still gonna be, I mean, Ed,
Well, there's page
he has
2.
every purchase order for 20 years.
Yeah.
oh,
So I almost want to help him.
I did.
That's gonna really help me a lot. So, but,
do you want us to,
so I just wanted you to look at it. I guess I'll have to get it typed and then present it, I guess, and then.
right, present it, we'll
sign
adopt it as a policy.
Adopt it as a policy. And then we can go forward with the fixed assets. But I just wanted to get a threshold, and if you think they're reasonable, then I'm gonna, give out, Norm's gonna have to help me out, and Ed and, Lori, and we're all gonna have to do this together.
Okay,
So when you're going through and trying to get the list of all the assets, I know, we didn't want to think about it, but do you have to record all the assets even if they're fully depreciated?
No, we need to, we put a sidewalk in 25 years ago,
Right.
we're not gonna.
depreciate to zero.
Right, so
So
it's,
let's say Norm's got a truck that's 15 years old and it's a 10-year
No.
depreciation.
No.
You wouldn't have to go through and find where the scrap of everything is ever
No.
purchased.
I mean, if it's fully depreciated, I'm not gonna,
So you can
I mean, I guess I need to check with the auditors on that, but I think, we're just gonna go back, and the problem is I have to backtrack the depreciation, to get the book value, so it's, it's quite an exercise.
That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
I've been through it.
So,
Not fun.
but, if we need to do this before the audit next year, then we've gotta do that.
If you're willing to type this up, type it up, I don't see any reason we can't adopt that next month.
Okay.
Right, I
Okay. But I thought at least Norm would have it, and then he can start thinking. I did get a list of everything from the insurance company that
That's
is
insured.
currently insured, so I'll pass that on to you.
And there's a lot of stuff on there that is insured that we don't even have.
Really?
Oh, yeah. We can, I know I
Every year.
keep calling them, Norm keeps calling them, and the fire department is.
We worked on a list last year with everything that we owned with a subcontractor,
we just need to, we're pretty close, we need to finish that. And I believe that same person worked with the fire department and went
Yep.
through stuff, so
She's doing.
we're a lot closer to that than you think.
Okay, great. So then, I mean, it's gonna be like, we gotta think about the building, we've gotta think about, you know, I don't know how, we've gotta think about, you know, sidewalks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it for me.
Some other new business that I have is we've got a copy of the oil contract that we can decide what to do with or not. I want really kind of, I want other people's input, those who have large oil expenses and those who deal with it through property management. These are a variety of possible, see, we got these last year and we did nothing. In the end, I don't think it burned us that much. I think we ended up paying about what we would have. All right, the differences here are,
Wait, are these two different? Oh, that's just a copy of this, right? Same thing?
oh, it's just that here no, see, this has a 0 credit balance. Oh, you know what, these are for, different,
Building.
Different account.
different sources, different accounts. But how do we know? Well, it doesn't matter. Oh, Prospect Street,
Okay, this is,
that's
water
the fire,
department. This is water department.
highway,
Garage.
and this will be this building. What's interesting is, okay, so it cost $7,000 to heat the fire department last year. Is roughly what he's saying this what it would cost.
Have a several-year average there?
No, it's not an
amount.
average. What he's-
Amount, I mean.
No, but he has his credit balances. In this case, we have 1,500 already credited at the firehouse. There's 600 credited at the highway. There's 0,
Water department.
water department, and 800 credited. And so then it kind of points out, if you do it this way, this is what it'll cost you. And they have the average of gallons that they suspect
They're protected.
you'll use based on their 1 year of data, or
Yeah.
2 years, I guess now. And so again, by
Because
far-
we've only been with this provider
For
for
2 years.
Yep.
The most fuel is used at the fire department is 2,200 gallons a year, 1,650 here, 500 at the highway garage. Is that possible? That's pretty good.
You guys like it cold, huh?
Yeah, but one
No,
of
we don't like it cold.
Actually, you
I
only
tell
heat
you what,
the,
I refuse to be cold.
do you heat the bag?
You know,
yeah, but did you do the
Bag,
1
but
month,
we've
1
done,
month, 1
we've
month?
plastic windows, we.
You-
Replaced windows.
But that's still, with a big open space like that, 500
No,
gallons
but
is
you
not a
share
lot.
that with water, because 1 month they pay it.
No.
That's how
They
it
had-
was.
No, that was for my office,
Okay.
and that was, and
And
they,
that's this-
you know, and that building could get tuned up for the cold, but they made a few steps last year. You know, we're really proactive, we have programmable thermostats and
So we cover 100% the bay.
yes.
The office is still split?
No, the office, because I put in an electric heater on that side, and it has a bathroom that we both share, so they suck it up, that's just the way it is. But that office, we sheetrocked it, we insulated it,
But
you know, it's completely an insulated building inside, so it takes nothing to heat it.
This water department contract has 0 gallons used.
It's probably because in case we ever have to fill that for some reason,
Okay,
that's why we probably put it on there.
okay.
They're using the same company?
No, they use somebody different. We used to use the same company.
Well, I can tell you that just since they sent this, I mean, they rewrote these to reflect a reduction in the cost of the program. And I heard again today that fuel prices might be backing back down a little bit. So it's just whether you want to ride the wave or not. not sure what the deadline is to jump on.
The one I got is this Friday. Not this, but I've got a program that I get into that's Friday. I'm sure it's, here you go. No,
It should be coming up.
it
really
should
quick.
say on here where it is. Cap plan, cap price, cap flex, pay.
And what rate are they offering?
Okay, generally, a prepaid cap price is $344.
10-day pay, which we
A
can't do.
flex, 10-day pay is actually more expensive. A prepaid fixed is $344. We can't, I think we about have to just cap the price. And the original one in this contract was $374 cap, and now it's down to $359.
Yeah.
I think that's a little less than I'm paying for mine too, so. These prices seem.
And we don't know what the
That's-
deadline is on this?
It's gotta be within, I would guess it's within the next couple of
You
weeks.
think September 1 maybe is when they're
Oh,
basing
here we
it.
go. Deliveries made, prepaid. For deliveries made from September 1 through, so, well, that's their delivery period. That's when the
Right.
program, so it's gotta be before September 1 if that's the program runs from September 1 through April 15. So I would assume that they would. The other thing is a lot of these, especially the prepaid and the others, they
They have to buy the
buy
fuel.
ahead.
They have to buy the fuel that you've said you're gonna pay for.
So typically they only buy a certain amount, so if we wait too long and try to get in, they may not have any more gallons left. So typically it's the
The
quicker you do
capped
it.
price is where you can cap your fuel requirements at $359.9, that's
Mm-hmm.
wrong, for deliveries made from September, for a 22% gallon fee paid in advance.
Right, so you can add, so the way that works is you add, if we save 1,000 gallons, we pay 22 cents a gallon to hold that price. And I think, is that the one where if it goes below the cap price, you can pay that price?
If the market falls, your price will fall as well.
Right, but
This
it won't
price-
go over. So you pay 22 cents a gallon to say, if that cap price is, so it's 359.9. If the price per gallon is lower than 359.9, we pay the lower price, but we won't pay any higher than that. That's why you buy so the
But
22
we are
cents
also
per
paying
gallon.
22 cents to, I don't know.
You have to, with that, you typically say how many gallons you're gonna cap off. So when I do this, I say I wanna cap off for one of my apartment buildings, 1,000 gallons. And I will pay 22 cents a gallon for 1,000 gallons. They'll set that,
$220.
once I use that 1,000 gallons, I pay market price. Whatever it is, when I use that up. If I use it up by December,
right.
whatever the price is in December, I start paying. But for every gallon that I reserve, up to 1,000 gallons, that's what these numbers reflect, is what they recommend that you save, that you reserve. So they're recommending if we do that, we're gonna reserve 1,131 gallons. That's what we should reserve for that. We get that many at either 150.
No, they're saying
150
516 gallons.
Right, and it costs you 22 cents
Oh, excuse
per
me.
gallon just to lock it, to cap it at that price.
So you're really
That's the
paying,
dollar.
so you're really paying. the
You're really
two-
paying $3.80 or something like that.
Exactly.
Exactly. But, well, you're not if it dips below, but what it does save you from is if we get that 420 something spike that we've got in the past, you won't get hit with that, you'll get.
Is there any merit in seeing if we want to put these out to bid, see if anybody else wants to bid on them, on the accounts, or no?
We did that 2 years ago. We moved from what we'd had for quite some time.
We happy with where we are?
Not entirely.
Okay.
Basically, it does fluctuate back and forth. I check with West frequently. West was one who bid.
Suburban.
And Suburban, which was not, so we could, and we should, it's possible we should do it every year. It's just a lot of work for Lori.
And the timing right now is not
Actually,
great, because
we
I'm
did
pretty sure
great
some of the
oil,
program,
too.
like I said,
We did 4.
mine has to be decided by Friday. So if we start going at it now,
No, I like where these numbers
may
have
miss-
moved since this was,
May I take a look at this?
and these are comparable.
this was written up in July 24/13, and now those numbers he's written have changed, so it might be worth
I
checking with him again.
now, do they have a budget pay program? Okay, capped budget pay, 10 pay, capped, yeah. So this is the one I typically choose.
So you pay you take $3.59 and pay your 22 cents a gallon.
No. This one
Oh,
doesn't have.
10-day cap, that's a 10-day, you can't do that.
10 pay.
Oh,
10 pay. So that means we pay, if we lock into that, they'll figure it out. We're gonna pay,
10
for 10
payments.
months, we're gonna pay $1,500 a month for 10 months. And that is our price regardless of what the market does, higher or lower.
it moves.
But we've gotta make our payments on time.
Yeah.
So they set our payment up, they know we meet here.
You're saying it's capped at that?
That's
That's
your price.
actually what you're gonna pay wherever,
But you
wherever
pay
the price
no matter
goes.
what.
Right, so at the end of that, if we've actually paid in those 10 payments, if we, pay for 1,000 gallons and we use 900, we have $100, or excuse me, 100 gallons
gallon for next
credit,
year.
where we can either take
Yeah,
a check or it pays down the next. But that is your price for that, but you have to say, you're locking in, you're taking that number of gallons and you make the payments, so you can't shop around. So you're guaranteeing that you're gonna go through that company.
Yeah,
For
and
the-
if anything, we wanna take into account what we have on account right now, the credits we have
They
on
do
account.
that for you, so they
And
take
maybe-
your gallons and then they separate the
And they'll
credit
do that
balance.
already.
Yeah,
Like,
and I
they'll
would-
subtract that through and
I
they'll
would
come up with our payment
shortchange
plan.
that a little bit, 85% of whatever they're recommending, so that we actually have to start, we could take it out to bid next year.
Right. Well, the other problem is you pay a capped fee for every one of these accounts of $485. Right?
I don't have that
Plus a
one online.
capped fee, meaning that in fact, if you used 1,000 gallons, you'd be paying 48 more cents per gallon. In this case, we used 2,000 gallons, so it's 24 cents a gallon that we're paying in addition to that price. That's the stickler.
It's a little different from the program on it.
Me too.
Prepaid flex, can't do that. 10 paid flex,
Unpaid flags, what's that? Balance, divided 10. Yeah, okay, so
that's the one that you,
That's the one that excuse me,
which makes more sense to me than
10
paying.
flags.
Plus,
Oh, so,
for
okay,
every
the
one of these
10-day
accounts,
cap.
he's gonna be charging us those
Yeah,
fees.
this 10-day capped
Yeah,
means you actually will pay to lower it.
oh, it's
So
capped at that.
Yeah, it's capped at that, but you can
And you
pay
can go
lower,
lower.
but there is a fee associated with that. The 10-pay flex is the one that I usually do. It's just, there are more options in this than I've got, so that's what I usually do. is
I
the
think there
10-pay
was one option.
10-pay
Or two, budget plan or
So I'm
prepaid.
thinking, right now, this would be what we wanna do.
This is more than
It's a
I've
10
got.
pay flex.
It's typically the one you get beat up the less, I find,
I think so.
unless you're able to pre-buy, which obviously we're not.
Now, why he's got 359.9 here and 354.9
I was wondering
here?
about that, yeah, I couldn't,
It's a typo. What do you got? 354.
Yeah, I assume they're all the same. He probably just wrote down the wrong.
I'll just,
Well, this one says 359 as well, so two of them say 354, and two of them say 359.
could it be because they use, no, that's the
No,
highest
because
use
that's,
and that's
yeah,
the.
these numbers are, that should, all the other numbers are the same.
All right, well, then I've got it, you know what?
That's
Being
good
such
idea.
a man of the rental market and stuff, I think that I would like to delegate Mark to call Mr. Henry Hicks. Harry Hicks, and ask him for clarification on that. It's really quite simple. And then, that if gets that clarified, that's what we want to do. And verify that it won't go up, but it won't go down either.
Right,
And that we don't have to pay a fee in order to buy into that.
yeah. Yeah, I know the questions they're asking, I'll just see if it's the same thing I'm doing.
No matter what,
Money
we
or
I
number
really
it's always
appreciate
a gamble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you want, but
It's
if you
terrible.
lock in something that you,
Proof that the gas
What did you say
price.
his name was? I don't see his name.
Harry Hicks, but you're gonna call this woman who, right here,
Mark, I have her email if you want.
call what?
Call with,
I think it's Beth you wanna call.
She calls you sweetie or honey.
Yeah.
oh, I'll definitely call them.
Yeah.
She calls me sweetie and honey too.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure.
So we're authorizing Mark to
Yes,
sign it?
I would say to sign it and bing, bang, boom, or if you wanna get it back to me, I'll get it to him. It's just the,
I'll ask the questions.
Okay.
Yeah,
The next new business is a support letter for the Fund for North Bennington. Fund for North Bennington, we just heard from Rob today about this. This is they're writing for a grant through the, I think the Community Foundation, yep, the same people.
Vermont Community Foundation.
Oh, that's over, right, that's the, yes, over in Brattleboro. Rob used to be the chair of that board. They're asking for a grant to restore the corn crib that is 300 feet west of the community gardens. It's a very narrow, wide corn crib. And I can show you the grant proposal that he wrote, just so you can see what they're talking about. I don't know if people can see this. Any of you? Some of you can. Come around. Anyway, it's the old corn crib. They want to turn it into a multi-use. It could be theater stage of some odd sort. But they just want to get the structure. It's currently got all kinds of damage. They want to fix it up. They show the damage, what needs to be done. Initial scope of the work looks like they're looking for 25 to 30,000. And then they talk about additions, design possibilities, things that can be done with it, and how it might be used with respect to theater. You know, they're doing all those open air theaters over there, which is really fantastic. And canopies could be added. It could be used for the garden. And then he's photoshopped, you know, watching James Stewart on
Like movies.
cast movies up onto it, you know, whatever. So, as always, a support letter from the community goes a long way. I told him to draft such a letter, for which we would either approve or not, and then assign if we do.
Great.
It's no, you know, it's not anything, you know, could I see them coming to the village at some point and asking for a contribution towards it? Maybe, although it's on fund, it's
It's on private property.
on private property, it's on fund property, so probably not. So it's really no cost to us, it's just enhancing them.
That's great,
I don't
yeah,
think we
I'm all
should do
for it.
So, a motion to submit such a letter?
I move that we submit such a letter and authorize Matthew to sign it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Pleased by that. Old business, financial policy.
I got one new one.
Okay, let's do a new.
North Shaft Lions want to hold a tag sale September 27, 28, and 29, and use the Lions Park. So they would use the grounds to have the tag sale, and they may need the kitchen area and possibly the upstairs storage just to store some things if they want to set up. And it's a 3-day tag sale, so to bring things in the store and then bring it back out.
Store them here?
Nope, it would be at the concession is unused right now, so the new concession stand. And obviously may need to use power. They haven't worked out all the details, but it seemed like something that obviously was a good use of the space for a weekend. And they also mentioned, which they've been talking about for at least a year, so I know that it's not trying to do something so they can use the space, but they are still wanting to paint the bathrooms in the concession stand as a community project. So that was something that they were kind of linking into. I guess.
Raise the money in order to do that.
Yeah,
So the money they're raising is intended to go towards the project?
I think they've already got the money in for the project. I think they're gonna do that regardless. I think but I think
But there's no other thing that they're looking to pay for with this?
no, not specifically, just a general, fundraiser for them. So I said I would bring it up tonight and thought that it was kind of
Sounds like
an
a
obvious
great
use for a park
plan
that
to
has their
me.
name on it to begin with. So if that's all right, I will tell them they've got the go-ahead, and I could take care of getting them in there and get the key and all that.
Okay.
All right, so I'll let them know.
Old business, financial policy handbook.
Okay, well, I bought, Gail and I have met and continue to work our way through this. I sent out a copy of purchasing policy, but Gail, I just wanted to check too. Do we need to approve the time for an audit from the policy we talked about last
I
time.
don't realize you made a decision on that, so.
The time
Remember
to do it.
How often?
How
Oh,
frequent?
how often?
So I don't know, I mean, that was up in the air, so that
What
wasn't.
did we
Yeah.
discuss?
It certainly
Yeah,
wasn't
well,
every year.
yeah, I fell short on what I was going to do was analyze all this.
What the other
based on-
towns do.
Based on the size of the village or town to see how common is it for somebody our size to do an audit versus, you know, obviously if you're a Burlington, you're gonna do an audit every year. But, and I really didn't get time to
So
go through that.
would
but
you
I
want to
really-
still do that? Do we have,
I really think
Till next
we should do that, just to get a better
I think it'd be nice to know.
focus on.
You've been
what-
busy.
what's-
You've been a
I've been
VIP.
kind of busy.
Um,
But I will do that, that won't,
Okay.
that's an easy project.
Okay, so, I've got too many papers here. So I sent this out, but I did bring some copies as well, if people.
Mine's in color.
Well, yeah,
Black and white is harder to read.
I know, and the size is really a challenge. I'm gonna need to take my glasses off. So we reviewed our purchasing policy not that long ago, and adopted one that was based on the VLCT.
Yeah.
This also comes from that source, and it's a little different. So they've either updated it or have, you know.
Changed their mind.
Yeah. So I took some of the language from the updated one and included that here with notations. The other thing that, as I read over the policy that we had approved, is that it seemed like there were a few places where we weren't necessarily following it, and so, I don't believe. So really, thought we should look at whether we wanted to keep that or change the language. I think there's some good reasons why we probably weren't that. The big thing I noticed was the talking about advertising
For bids.
for bids. And I don't recall that we do that, and for, you know, and I think.
Nor are we required to.
Well, the policy says we will, so that's what.
Right.
So I think we should
But there's no statute dictating that.
that's right.
I mean, we still contact the.
We do, we solicit bids,
But
so,
it's
It says here specifically that we do it in a newspaper.
in a newspaper, so I would,
That's just not, it's not practical nor
Right.
economic.
Right.
For
right,
We do it
some of
more
these
informally,
projects.
we get the bid, but we don't say it has to be in the newspaper a week before.
right. So, maybe, so that's the general picture, but maybe just starting at the top and going through. Part 1 and 2 are are already in there, in our current policy. Part 3 was something new that was in the policy Gail and I were reviewing. And what it does, is talks about purchase authorization, so set some limits around, and you have to fill in the blank. What amount, the cost of purchases that may be made without prior approval of the trustees. And I think this may, when we talk about credit cards at a future date, this may pertain to that as well. I mean, because credit cards are generally something that you would want to know where the amount would be that would need to be approved.
Well, in all practicality, though, for instance, really, we're talking about highway department with respect to the majority of the budget. And if we've approved a budget that allows Norm to spend X amount on new equipment, I would think that it would be difficult for him to be asking for every leaf blower and, that he thinks, chainsaw and whatever that he thinks he needs. I'd be willing to put that number high, 5,000.
Right. Well, this would be, I mean, this would be up to the board to set where they feel.
Right.
The other is, we might want to delay approving this policy and this particular piece until we have the discussion about the use of credit cards too, or some guidance. I mean, because that, I do think they're connected.
Okay. I would think that the credit card purchases are gonna be significantly, rather small. And if, I cannot see, us waiting a month in order to authorize a purchase of something on a credit card.
Well, I mean, I think when I talked to I talked to Steve Love and I talked to Bennington about their policies, like Steve asked me, do you have purchase orders for the credit cards? I mean, the town of Bennington have their, they have, if somebody wants to use a credit card, they have to go to the finance officer and get the credit card and sign something that says, this is the benefit, how this benefits Bennington, the town.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think,
Right, but they can actually walk into a building and that
Exactly.
person's there.
no, but what I'm saying is,
No, it's
but you
not.
could have a form that says, that would just be a phone authorization. Just, so that, I mean, you talk all the time.
Right.
So it would just be an authorization that there's just a
It
record.
would not have to be from the financial officer, it could be from a trustee or a
Right.
majority of trustees. or
Right,
whatever.
I mean, because you all okay it. I mean, so.
I can't imagine calling Matthew at midnight saying, I'm working on village stuff and I've gotta go get more ink.
But that could make things interesting.
But again, but aren't we talking?
Okay, Matt, can I go get more ink?
I know my big purchases a couple of years ago when we bought the light bulbs, they were 400 something a piece. We bought 4 of them.
Yeah.
After that, I mean, I use it. If Gail doesn't fill out this form that's been sent to her to get a trustee, I'm going to use it in 2 weeks for probably $1,500. I'm trying to get an account set up so I don't have to,
Where?
and for those Neen and Foundries for our grates and stuff.
Yeah.
'Cause we're skipping a middleman now, okay?
Going right to Nina?
We're going right to the source now, and they're as close to the source as we can get.
That's pretty close.
But, but other than that, we really,
My
if you
question-
look at my things, we don't spend a whole lot of money.
My question is, if it's not broken, what are we fixing? I mean, we get a record, a statement of everything that's purchased. There's never been anything that I've questioned, the necessity of, or questioned whose pocket it went into.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
I feel strongly about that, but,
okay, well, here's my suggestion. Gail's planning to bring up the discussion in September, did you say, Gail? About that, and so if, I'd like to go through the rest of this to see if there's any other, I have a few, this is probably the biggest change, this paragraph, but there are a few other suggestions on this. And if there are no, if we can fairly quickly agree on the rest of it, I'd suggest approving the policy without this piece in it and putting it into, and reserving it for another policy. I mean, I think.
okay.
But let's see how we do with the rest of it. If there are a lot of changes, then
Okay.
I'll be glad to take it back and rework it. So the next section is in the current policy. These are the definitions of levels of purchases. Section 5 on procedures. This is where I questioned about the advertising,
I completely
that it's in
agree.
there.
Yeah, I don't know why we would do newspaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't
This day and
either.
age.
So I'm wondering if we might we could either remove it, or we might say may.
May is fine.
We may advertise,
Yeah.
because there might be a huge purchase,
Well,
you know,
there'll be
like a
things we
new
wanna do
building
that.
or something like that, where we might really want to, okay. So, why don't we combine those in some way and talk about we may advertise? On number 5, under that one, I added a little delivery or completion date. That was recommended in the newer version of the policy. Are these on, Norm, do you have a copy of this? When you look at what's included in solicitation of bids, are these the things that we include? I mean, is this accurate?
Well, on major projects, I mean, like on our sidewalk, you know, we had a completion date, but, you know, life happens and things, you know, we gotta understand that, you know, and this is the hard part, you guys don't meet enough to get a small guy paid. So we gotta make deals with them, and that's just the way life is, and, you know, you know, do we put delivery completion dates? Yes, like on our big intersection project, it's just, you know, through no fault of the highway department, so I don't want everybody to think that, you know, why it went up is because of us, we have nothing to do with it, we're a passenger. But, you know, they have a completion date, it's gonna move.
That's the kind of thing that's dealt with in really large contracts, where penalties, you penalize if, you know,
But again, just because we ask for that information, doesn't mean we don't work with contractors. I mean,
Absolutely.
asking them to say,
Right.
you know, what's your anticipated target date for completion, at least we know what their frame of mind is. That doesn't mean,
and of
I don't
course
think
there's-
putting that in there is necessarily changing the way we do business.
No.
Right.
We can ask for that to see what their intentions are,
Right.
and then if they give us a good excuse why it can't happen, we're obviously
Right,
gonna
well,
work with that
and
person.
Say, we'll use the school, or, again, this building, we were having a big function, and we wanted to pay, you know, we set deadlines.
Yeah.
On a sidewalk that is passable, there's no deadline. If we were paving the school parking lot,
Obviously,
you
need
really
to
wanna
go
get it
first.
done before school starts. Certainly, absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't see a problem with putting that in there, realizing that, you know what, the way we do business now is not necessarily wrong, and
Okay.
we would understand that we could move those dates
And
if we
it's
needed
really
to, or if our
clear,
contractor needed to.
clear that we have the discretion to use our own criteria, I mean,
Sure.
did make our own decision about it. Okay, on this next page, criteria for bid
Yeah.
selection is new. I think a lot of this was implied, but I rather like the
I do
list.
too. It gives you the most flexibility of who you choose and rationale for why you made
But
a
it
certain
does trigger
choice.
some thinking too, of things you should be
Yeah.
considering.
Right, right.
Bidders available to provide future service, you know, I mean, those kinds of things can push it towards looking at local bids.
Okay, and then, of course, that includes that we have the right to reject any and all bids, holding apart, to waive,
Yep.
you know, just that the final decision is ours, basically. Under regular purchases, which were the next step down, those are from $1,000 to $50,000. It was a little repetitive. Let's see, what did I do here? I think just referencing, currently it had this section about how we make those decisions, but just reference the previous one.
Yeah.
Make it easier. And then, okay, so incidental purchases, this was where I wondered, this might be a place where if you had some guidance around it or wanted to put some limits around it, this is where you would put it. But if we decide not to do that in here,
But this is
It would
things
just
under
stand.
$100,000.
Under 1,000.
My credit
Right.
card doesn't go that high. I don't have $100,000 credit card.
No, 1,000.
No, $1,000.
no, incidental is 1,000.
That's your limit.
That's not, that is.
So we could just leave it as is. I think that's the way we currently have it. And then the other thing, the rest is all in, the rest is just as it stands currently. I think except it does say that we would approve of sole source vendors at our first regular meeting. So identify those that we would use, and we've never actually done that. The language is in there because it was in the policy, but so approval shall be made annually at the first regular meeting of the trustees.
Yeah, okay.
So,
We don't have any sole source.
Well, I mean,
Where we have like, well, for oil is one.
there's one place he goes to get his drop inlets and that stuff, right? I mean, you go up to,
Yeah. well, I
you
mean,
go to
we were-
Fastenal to
we
get
bought-
your nuts and bolts.
We bought curbing today at Fort Bennington for, by the store for those mud holes, we bought one side of it. But they're the only ones that sells it, so I guess you can call them sole source, but there's no competition,
Right.
you know?
But,
Well-
I mean, this oil, that's
it's a sole
source.
source.
Sole
rather-
source. And I don't think it's necessarily appropriate to say that all has to be decided in the April meeting.
Well, it says
This
it
is
may
something we would
approve.
never decide that in April.
Right, right. So it says may approve. This is a.
May approve a sole
approve,
source
so,
vendor.
So,
Okay, that's
I
fine.
think that they're probably leaning on that, some municipalities, they go to, let's just say a diggy dirt contractor, and say, all right, you have a 10,000-pound machine, what's it cost us an hour? So they go to 3 people, and, you know, one guy says 100, one person says 110, one person says 200. And then we decide on who we want, and then that person becomes our
Sole
diggy
provider of
dirt
that
guy
service.
for 1 calendar year, you know, so
It's contractual stuff.
we talk about that, and we don't, somebody like me doesn't have to come ask you, you know, but again, with the way it is, the way we pay, it's easier to, you know, like beat up some people,
Yeah.
you know, and that's just.
Well, this is for populations.
so this is one that, for the most part, we already have got, have recently updated it.
Good, that's good work.
So are there questions about any of it, or what would be your pleasure at this point?
Take out that's a certain what we said, and, or at least put in May for the advertising stuff. Leave out the purchase authorization for now, as you suggested.
Quick question from me.
After we get to the credit cards, correct?
Quick question on leasing. So if we needed a trash pump because you had a problem, you needed to pump a bunch of water, do we actually have to approve him to go down to Easy Way and spend $75 on a trash
There's the
pump?
thing about emergency there. Emergency purchase
You
of
would
those,
have to approve $750 if I needed that pump.
or urgent purchases of goods and services which are required to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. It doesn't say specifically leasing, but
Okay,
I think that would be that's a service
gotcha.
that you'd be seeking out. All right, so what do we do next?
Well, I should make the changes and bring it back for a copy that we can sign.
Can you make it bigger?
Yes, this is only so because it's got comments on it. Gee, picky.
I haven't been able to read it.
But are we bringing section 3 up at the next meeting? Did you say we're doing
Yeah,
that?
credit card thing.
Yeah.
Well,
In
and
September?
Gary,
So does it make sense to if we're gonna bring that up, does it make sense to
wait
make the
until,
changes and then sign it and then change it again when we finalize 3? Or should you,
wait until we do the bigger
We get it
discussion?
all together.
Why don't we do it all together?
I think so, if it were 3-4 months, it would make sense, but if we're talking about changing it again next month, I don't know if we wanna sign and approve something twice.
Anything else?
Just a kind of an incidental one on this. When Bill and I were talking about charter, and he did a great job being able to put it into a Word document that we could actually
Right.
work with. But I think one of the things that came up is that it feels important that we have a single place where we have all of our documents electronic. So this is now on my computer.
Oh, I know, believe me.
Yeah, so I think just,
There is a single place we've always, once we have things, we've submitted them to the town of Bennington where they readily lose them.
Well, we thought, what about even if there was some kind of Google file where at least we could all access it? It was centrally
But the
stored.
The fund has almost all our documents.
Well, the only concern I have with that, and I love the fund, is we don't own it then. We don't have necessarily control of it, so it kind of felt like we should put all these things together and have them somewhere. As we start with the charter, then move
Not
into
to
the
men-
next things.
Yeah.
well, we should have our own copy, I think, anyway. I'm not clear whether we have copies of all of our ordinances, do we?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I don't have them. I mean, so I don't.
Because, I mean, if we
yeah, I don't
got
know
them
what-
all, it would actually be really easy. It would take a couple hours to scan them all in and make them electronic files that everybody would have access to. If you wanted it, you could pull up something that would be cataloged electronically.
Right, protected, so that you could then link that on the fund site.
Or
so
however we
people
wanted to
could
do it.
have-
Yep.
I mean, they do now.
Right, well,
That might be
that
an
would be good,
easier
yeah.
way to,
Yeah.
a hub.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seemed like if I wanted to find out what something was, it was gonna take me a couple weeks to figure out how to find out what some ordinance was.
Right.
Which just, you know,
Well, if they're on there, you can go to Fund for North Bennington and bring them up.
All the ordinances are there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
okay.
Because it wasn't clear,
That's good.
because
I'll make
I
sure
was
about
beginning to
ordinances, but-
think what might,
Bylaws and everything else are there.
or what might be an ordinance at that level and what really needs to be in a charter.
I see.
Just how, you know.
So we started asking some questions.
Yeah, we had more questions than answers.
And as we're on old business and talking ordinances, Paul Doucette called me a week and a half ago. And I told him I'd bring up the meeting. He would like a copy of the letter that, or the copy of what we think we sent to Bennington. And I told him that I would get a copy and actually hand deliver it to him.
For the town.
Of a copy of the ordinances that we adopted to align with Bennington. Because he can't seem to get his hands on it. He's been getting a lot of calls. So
Okay.
Lori said she would get me the copy, and I would actually, deliver a hard copy to him.
I'm confused. I know that zoning bylaws were things that they wanted to be congruent with, for enforcement, if we were gonna do that.
I think this was more ordinances than,
And my question is, we have adopted ordinances which we have given to the police and to the town, and which they've said they will enforce.
Okay.
That
to be
aren't
fair to Paul, he
necessarily-
is new, and
No, I know.
I don't mind
but
doing it, so.
That's fine. The discrepancy in some ways from what I've heard from people who've made complaints about certain ordinance issues is that there are some police officers who gladly help and help out the situation, and others who say, sorry, I can't do anything because I don't have the ordinances.
Well, I think this could be a good starting point. If we actually hand deliver it to Paul, he would then
Yep.
at least be a source of backing for that.
I thought we had. So
We have.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
sure
we have,
done it
since
many
Paul's been,
times.
since Paul's been.
Yeah.
He said they came very close. I don't know if, without mentioning any names, I don't know if it actually got followed through on.
Okay.
So he said that the process was started, but it didn't finalize, so I'd be happy to pick it up from here.
Yes,
Okay.
but the thing that bothers me is the fact that you can go to the fund site, northbennington.org,
Mhm.
and they're all there for anybody who wants to read them anytime they want to. And all the, the town
Trying to
plan
get
and
reception
bylaws
here, I can't.
and everything that's.
Well, that's, he's asking for it, let's get it to him.
Yeah, no, that's what I said, I'd be happy to do that, and then any questions that come up, at least it's a starting point again where we can revisit the whole conversation. So.
Okay.
PDF.
So are we ready to move on and almost go home other than an executive session for legal and contract?
I've got nothing else.
Motion to go into executive?
So moved.
Go into executive session.
And second? Yep.
All's in favor?
All right.
Thank you.
Just